All right, time to get a look at what's going on with Isaac and also get a look at our weather here in southeastern New England, which has been very quiet, very beautiful, really, for the last several days. Another gorgeous sunset out there this evening. Checking on Isaac first, though, and the storm basically moving to the west right now, not really intensifying much. Winds are about 45 miles per hour, and it's actually at a position farther south now than where Irene was when it was at the same longitude last year. So Irene was moving west-northwest at this point last year. This storm is moving more on a westerly track and likely to take a lower road through the Caribbean than Irene took. You may remember Irene went right over Puerto Rico and then moved up just to the north of Hispaniola and into the Bahamas. This storm, unless there's a drastic change, will be moving south of Puerto Rico, through Hispaniola, Dominican Republic, and Haiti, and then having an impact in Cuba, and eventually probably making its way to the southern part of Florida. That is the way things are looking right now. Here's the water vapor imagery, and there is some drier air which is getting involved on the northeastern part of this storm and probably limiting its intensification somewhat. Should be able to fight that off over the next 24 hours, and we'll look for some intensification. Very hard for the hurricane hunters and the National Hurricane Center to find the center of circulation on this storm, and with all this convection around it, but not looking extremely organized right now, although the size of the storm is pretty good. The organization of it, not that great. Another look now at what we call wind shear here, and these are winds at the upper levels of the atmosphere that the tropical systems generally don't like to get involved with, and the darker yellows and oranges indicate where you have some a tendency towards some stronger wind shear, and that is out over Puerto Rico, over Hispaniola. In the near term, there's not much wind shear at all in front of this storm, but might combination of impacting the island of Hispaniola and then Cuba, and maybe a little bit of wind shear. Then the forecast for this is not for it to become a super intense storm over the next few days. In fact, this is the forecast as of 5 o'clock in the evening, and by 2 a.m. Friday morning, so still more than a day from now, you have a strong tropical storm, and then by 2 o'clock in the afternoon on Friday, Category 1 hurricane, which is closing in on the border between Haiti and the Dominican Republic, and then it moves to Cuba and somewhere either as far east as Nassau and as far west as the western end of Cuba as you get later on into the weekend and early next week. The center of this cone is, of course, focused on the southern and western part of Florida, but it's this entire cone that we need to take into account. And unless there's a jog to the north here real soon, I think we're going to be somewhere in the center or to the western end of this track. And these are some of the latest computer models that are coming in this evening, and once again, they are focused on Florida. Not good news for the Sunshine State, but the track of the storm, you see some interaction along the way with the Dominican Republic and Haiti. A lot of mountainous terrain there, so that will have an impact on the intensity of the storm, limit it, and then it may have more of an impact as it crosses along the northern part of Cuba, if that's in fact the track that it takes. So it doesn't have a ton of open water to intensify over as it makes its way toward Florida. Eventually, some of these computer models showing a turn to the north and to the east, and what's left of the storm could head up our way. Let's look at some computer models here, and this is the European model, which has been drawing a lot of attention today because it has been one of the most southerly and westerly models with this with the ultimate track heading into the Gulf of Mexico. These models come off of the Weather Bell Models site, which is a great site. You might want to check that out for some computer model information. And this European has the storm moving pretty much south of, right along the south coast of Hispaniola, and then the bigger difference with the European compared to most of the rest of the models is that it never takes a turn really to the north as it gets to around Cuba, so it doesn't get, the ridge stays strong to the north. There's a ridge right in here that the European keeps strong. There's no trough that really tends to pick the thing up, and as a result, you end up with a very strong hurricane moving through the Gulf of Mexico, and a bad scenario, really, near the anniversary date of Katrina, and taking a track similar to Katrina. So Let's hope here that the European doesn't play out, because if that scenario were to play out right there, you're talking about a lot of the areas that have been recovering from Katrina for the past several years having another major impact. That is with the European model. Now, this is one of the American models, the GFS model, and we'll look on a similar map here, and you'll notice that this track of the storm really begins to change after it passes Hispaniola compared with what the European is showing. So that ridge to the north weakens, and then you end up with a storm that crosses Cuba in the eastern part of that country and then moves up to the north and through the Florida Keys and into South Florida in general, and then possibly up the west coast of Florida. It might have a big impact in Tampa. And if we go far enough along here, a couple of things to note. One, this would be Tropical Storm Joyce out here near Bermuda. Two, this goes through the Panhandle and then moves to the north and east and might actually reemerge out off of Cape Hatteras and eventually bring us some rain at some point late next week. And then as we go all the way out to 192 hours, check this out. Another storm there showing up, entering or getting closer to some of the northeastern Caribbean islands. And rolling back really quickly here to the tail end of the European, you'll notice that same scenario there. So the next storm, this is way out to September 1st. Now, you put a storm down there south of Bermuda and still moving more or less to the northwest. That could be an East Coast threat. So that is a long way out. We're getting way ahead of ourselves with that. So we showed you this threat chart yesterday, and I've lowered it a little bit. It was solidly in the must-watch category for us here in southeastern New England. Now it's not all clear as far as the track of the storm is concerned, but there's a much better chance that this storm is heading for the Dominican Republic and Haiti, and then portions of Cuba, and then Florida, and possibly into the southeastern United States, where we could end up with a part of this storm, what's left of it, in the form of some rain in the middle to latter part of next week. But a scenario where it turns to the north and then heads up in our direction, a lot like Irene did through the Bahamas, is not looking like the likeliest scenario at all at this point. But still, there is time for that to change. So here's a 7-day forecast around here, and it's warm for the end of the work week. Saturday and Sunday, high temperatures will be in the low 80s, nice and dry right through the weekend. Chance of a few thunder showers around here on Monday and Tuesday.